All right. Okay, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Ibraheem Masoud, and today we're going to discuss the lecture, which is coagulation. Now, before we start, did you study coagulation? Take a look at it, or like attend the lecture or something. If you do, tell me, what do you think? I need to know, like, what do you think? Is it hard? Is it easy? Is it the hardest yet? Because I think like most people struggle with the coagulation cascade, especially in first year. It's fine. That's good to know, actually. Like, if you're saying it's fine, that's really good to know. Because it's like, it's like the nightmare of HLS. I don't know why people find it hard, but now you see it's very easy, inshallah. Okay. So why are we here? Don't take this question too deep. Like, this is just the objectives of this lecture. And now this lecture, I made it, but it's like, it is from Abdul Jabbar's lecture, Dr. Abdul Jabbar's lecture. So you'll find that each slide corresponds to a slide from his lecture, but I rearranged the order and I changed the stuff because I didn't like the way he started and he ended. So I'm like, I have a better plan for this. Not better than his plan, but like, it's just a different plan. I hope it works out. And also, why are you here? Like, why do you watch past sessions, not the lectures, like the doctor's lecture? So the reason is I'm going to be pointing out what might be a question in the exam, because I did HLS and I took the exam. And above of that, I did POD, which has a little bit of HLS. So I know what the doctors usually ask about. And I will keep pointing out which concept they will ask about, what to focus on, what they will tell you to, just in the exam, what will they ask you? And I'll get you some questions at the end, inshallah. So that's why you're here. And now, we'll start with, inshallah, hemostasis or blood clotting. So what do you know about hemostasis? Hemostasis just means blood stop. So you stop the blood from bleeding or going out. And that's basically the meaning of hemostasis. So now, when you look at stops blood loss, repairs injury, right? When you're cut, when you have a cut on your hand, blood will go out, right? But after a few minutes, you will find that it stopped. Why? Because hemostasis is taking place. And we'll talk more about hemostasis in the coming slide. This is just an introduction, okay? Don't worry. The balance, there is a good balance. You know what the balance is? There is a balance between procoagulants and anticoagulants. So procoagulants are things that want the blood to clot. And you know what a clot is? It forms a clot like it's a solid fibrin matter or like protein matter that stops the bleeding, right? It sticks to the injury. And this is procoagulant. Now, normally, coagulants shouldn't happen. Right now, I'm sitting, why would my blood just, let's clot? That would kind of kill me or kill some parts of my body, right? So that's why we have something countering that, which is the anticoagulant, which I will also talk about more details like in the coming slide, which is why this balance, subhanAllah, it's keeping us alive, okay? Nothing too extreme, because if the anticoagulant is too extreme, what do you think will happen? If the anticoagulant is extreme, bleeding will happen, and I will not be able to repair tissues or cut skin. What if it's the opposite, right? Procoagulant is like taking over, and it's like more in the balance. I might form like stroke, a clot, thrombus, embolism. A lot of problems might happen. So that's why it's important to keep this balance, and we'll talk more about the balance at the coming slide, inshallah. Now, normally, as I told you, there is no clotting. You're in a state where your blood doesn't want to clot. Why? Because you don't need to. If you clot, this clot will go somewhere, some artery, and then just block the flow there, and your tissue will become ischemic. And you took this ischemia, right? It's happened from clotting. This is why. So why there is no clotting? Because there is obvious anticoagulants which inhibit clotting factors. Okay. But what are they? See this picture, I drew it for you. I hope like it's a very nice representation of the clotting. We'll go with it by one. 1 second. Okay. I don't want you to read. I want you to focus with me here. Like focus very well. So you have the endothelium. The endothelium is a very, very important part in anticoagulation, right? So the endothelium, it secretes nitric oxide, prostacyclin, which is short for PGI2, ADPase. Now, what does this do? They inhibit platelets, right? Because platelets, they're always there, and the factors are always there. So, as I told you, why do they not just form a clot suddenly? The reason is because the endothelium is continuously secreting this stuff to inhibit the platelets from aggregating. Is that clear? I hope it's clear. Now, the second thing, before I continue, guys, if something is not clear, please stop me. Do not hesitate to stop me, okay? Because I will just keep going, and if you don't stop me, you might miss something. So just stop me and we can review it together. Okay, the second thing is you have heparin. Heparin is a protein receptor that is bound to the endothelium. Now, heparin will bind to antithrombin 3. Now, what is the antithrombin 3? Simply, it inhibits the other factors 9, 10, 11, 12, and 2. Now, we don't worry about this now because I will get to this slide at the end after you've learned the factors, which will make sense. So this will make sense at the end even more. But I'm telling you now so that you keep it in mind because I know you will ask me when I tell you, oh, this factor is there. When bleeding happens, it will clot. Okay, why doesn't it clot before the bleeding? Well, because of this, because of heparin, antithrombin, the antiplatelet stuff, also thrombomodulin, which binds to thrombin, and thrombin will activate protein C and protein S to inhibit factor 5 and factor 8. Now, I know you noticed this because I did too. Thrombin is here, thrombin is here. Like, why the anticoagulant is inhibiting thrombin, but thrombin is also an anticoagulant? Well, thrombin is a procoagulant, but thrombin, as I told you, it's procoagulant, okay? It means it clots the blood. But thrombin also will, like in the process, it will activate protein C, protein S, you know? Negative feedback type of thing. You'll also understand it more at the end. So now I answered your first question, which is why blood clot doesn't happen when we're just, you know, awake, not cut, nothing, just existing. Why does that happen? Because of this. Okay, how does it happen? Like when does the blood vessel become thrombogenic or it becomes like susceptible to blood clots? Well, that happens when there is a cut here. So let me use the pen 1 second. So if there is a bleeding here, I can't see the pen. It's here. So if there's a bleeding here, like this is cut, notice that the endothelium is damaged. And when the endothelium is damaged, there is no inhibition coming from the endothelium to the factors and the platelets. You see that? So the factors are already there, but they're always continuously inhibited by the endothelium. Now, if the endothelium stops inhibiting them, which is when it's damaged, obviously, the factors can now run their process. And don't worry, we'll talk about this even more, like inshallah, in the next slides. I have like very nice slides for you guys. Let's move. This is the same slide that I drew. It's showing you prostacyclin, nitric oxide, ATPase, but this is from your doctor's slide. So you can like relate my drawing to this. I made this simplified, like just this inhibits that, but this like shows you the actual process. It's the same thing, essentially. Like you can see thrombomodulin, you can see protein C, protein S. You can see this is we'll talk about this later. That fibrinolysis. Okay. Now let's take it as a story. You're cut. Okay, you're bleeding now. What happens next? Your blood should not go out. This is what your body believes. So the first thing, wait, let's see what's here. Okay, the first thing that reacts, yes, it's a blood vessel, which they hold the leak, right? Because when a blood vessel constricts, it's like it's holding the leak, right? It's not allowing blood to leave or like it's restricting the flow, okay? It's like closing up. And it's also getting more contact with the inner stuff. You will see more about this blood vessel thing. I have a special slide for the blood vessel. Let's just run through them all. The second thing that happens, platelet system, the temporary plug, or which is the, you know, when you put, let's say a tube, there's a tube, it's broken. When it's broken, immediately you just put something, right? You just put tissue, you put a cloth, like this is a temporary plug, okay? You imagine this as a platelet system, which is primary homeostasis, and I'll tell you what primary homeostasis is like in a second, okay? After this, like the coagulation system, which is a stable fibrin, okay? It's like a solid thing now. We remove the temporary thing and we put like an actual, you know, something to hold the bleeding for a while. Like it's more long lasting than the temporary plug. Okay. Now, what do you expect after this will happen? Like after this, we'll just repair the tissue, and when the tissue is repaired, what will happen? You just remove the clot, right? You don't need it. Now the tissue is repaired, like it was cut, but now it's repaired. Like why would you need a clot forming when the tissue is repaired, right? It makes sense. You just want to remove it now. Okay. And the last thing is coagulation inhibition, or which is essentially this. Wait, this is coagulation inhibition. So this means that normally you should control the fibrin formation and lyse it. Like you should not allow any clot to happen. And this is in the ideal situation or in the healthy situation, right? This is vascular spasm, as you can see. The vessel constricts, and then the platelet plug forms, and then the fibrin happens. But also, don't worry, like this is still introduction, okay? This is all still introduction. We'll get to the real thing in a second. The homeostasis, as I told you, there's like 3 stages: primary, secondary, and the fibrinolysis. So the primary homeostasis is just a platelet plug, right? It's the primary one. You put the plug, you wait for this, like a bit for the secondary homeostasis to take place and form the fibrin, and the fibrin will replace the temporary plug, okay, the platelet plug. The fibrinolysis is when the tissue heals, as I told you. When the tissue heals, you don't need it anymore, you just remove it. This is exactly what's happening. And the coagulation cascade is the secondary, so the nightmare should be essentially here. Like this is the big boss of this whole thing. Like imagine having a lecture named after you. Coagulation, like a whole lecture just named after you. Wow. Okay, so essentially this is the big one. This is just a simple platelet formation. This, you lyse the things. This is the big one, okay? Just keep it in mind. Okay. Now, I asked you this question before, and I told you, how does the vessel become thrombogenic? And I told you that the vessel becomes thrombogenic when the endothelium breaks and there is no longer inhibition on the factors. But let me tell you something, that's not enough, that's not enough to just initiate a whole cascade. You need something to also activate. So 2 things now. You remove the inhibition by breaking the vessel, and you activate the factors. But how do you activate the factors? Here's the real question, how? And now here's the easy answer. You know vulnerable factor? VEVF, and platelet activation factor like this factor, tissue factor, and the plasminogen activator inhibitor. Well, if you don't know them, you should know them. Von Willebrand factor, okay? This is responsible for primary homeostasis. So I can't just talk about it. I need to show it to you. Look here. What did we say about the tissue breaking? We said that when the tissue breaks, there is no inhibition. So this is in our case. I will use the pen, excuse me. Okay. I can zoom if I use the pen, nice. So the tissue breaks here. I'll just zoom, okay? Yeah, the tissue breaks here. Now there is no inhibition, but there is also something. The platelets here, they're coming in contact with the inner proteins, and of which is the von Willebrand factor, right? When the platelets come in contact with the VVF, what will happen? It will initiate a coagulation or like a fibrin plug, okay? To initiate a fibrin plug. Now this fibrin plug will just stick there, right? And more will stick to it, more platelets will stick to it, right? Until the coagulation cascade takes place. Now who starts the coagulation cascade? Now you got tissue factor, okay? Tissue factor is one of the things that will activate the extrinsic pathway, which we'll talk about. So this, we'll talk about it even more later, okay? But now I'm telling you how does it become thrombogenic. Now another thing is platelet activating factors, which activates platelets, like that's its name, right? Just activates platelets, which, clots the thing. What about PI? What is PI? It's plasminogen activator inhibitor. So what is plasminogen? Plasminogen is it's a protein that removes the clot, and you'll see in the future now. So if we inhibit the activator of that plasminogen, we're essentially inhibiting plasminogen from removing the clot. Why? Because we need the clot, right? We do need the clot now because we actually have bleeding. Like, we're not kidding. We're not playing here. Like, we actually do need the clotting. So inhibit something that will remove the clot, and the VVF, as I told you, it will stick to the platelet path, activate the platelet. TF will activate the extrinsic pathway. Coagulation cascade starts, fibrin forms. But this is like generalized idea. Okay, I will repeat the concept, sure. Someone asked if I can repeat the concept, I will. Okay. So you have an endothelium, like it's a capillary or a arteriole, it's a vessel, okay? Now, we said that the thrombosis or like coagulation is inhibited normally because there are things and receptors like the one we saw, which is the heparin, for example, antithrombotic 3. These stuff, they inhibit the coagulation cascade. Now, once the endothelium breaks, the endothelium is no longer capable to inhibit the coagulation cascade. On top of that, you see this blue means it's under the vessel, like it's collagen and connective tissue, right? So this blue stuff, it has factors like tissue factor, which is an activator of coagulation cascade. It has von Willebrand factor, which is an activator of platelets and binds platelets to get them close to here, to the site. And there is PAF, which activates platelets, and PI, which inhibits what? Breaking of the fibrin, fibrinolysis. So it inhibits fibrinolysis. Is that what you were asking about, or like another thing? This is the main idea here, is that how does it become thrombogenic? Did you understand 100%? I can repeat it if you want. Okay, great, you got it. No, that's nice. Okay, so as I told you, that when a vessel breaks, the factors inside will now activate stuff outside, as simple as that. And the things on the endothelium that were inhibiting the factors are no longer there. So now you have decreased inhibition and increased activation. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Okay, we can move on now. So this is essentially what I drew. It's like almost the same thing. You can see PAF, you can see thrombo, this is TXA, this is thromboxane A2. I will talk about it in the later slide. So don't worry, I have everything covered here. Just for your reference here. I will talk about everything, inshallah. Okay, moving on. Okay, now we'll compare, right? This is a normal capillary. It's healthy. It has all its protein. It's secreting stuff. Now, once the endothelium break, it will, look, I will draw it for you, okay? It will no longer be able to secrete this stuff. See this capillary, this chunk, it will no longer be able to secrete this stuff. So platelets cannot be inhibited now. It will not have this anymore because it's broken. Like, so these stuff will now be activated. It will also not have thrombomarginal. So no C, no S, and this stuff will be activated, right? On top of all that, like decreased inhibition, you see it has factors inside, like embedded inside the collagen and connective tissue. Once the thing breaks off, they all swarm out just to activate a whole coagulation cascade and stop this bleeding, which is a very beautiful mechanism, by the way. If you ask me, like, I love this mechanism. It's very nice. I'll also talk more about all of this, like in the coming slides. You will understand it, I promise, inshallah. And this is like exactly this, but like in, you know, nerdy terms. I don't like it. Well, for your reference, it's the same, okay? And now the real business. Okay, wait, before we go to the real business, let me ask you this question. I'll ask you a question, guys, okay? Stay with me. Here's a checkpoint, okay? Which factor initiates platelet plug formation? Okay. Which factor initiates platelet plug formation? I will write it down for you if my... Wow, someone already answered this, mashallah. Yes, 100%, von Willebrand factor. Someone said factor X. No, factor 10 does not do anything yet. It does. So look, factor 10 is like at the end. It does not initiate anything, and we didn't talk about it yet. Okay, it's von Willebrand. Two people answered von Willebrand. Perfect. This is the right answer. Okay. Let me try to think of another question. Okay. Now, when the bleeding happens, what factor activates the extrinsic pathway? 3, that's nice. 3 is the tissue factor, guys, okay? Someone said 7. What do you mean by 7? Factor 7 does not do anything here. Factor 7 is, okay, look, factor 7 is activated by factor 3, but it's not the one that initiates the extrinsic pathway. It's tissue factor or factor 3, right? It's tissue factor or factor 3. I got it right, see? I put the answer. Okay. Okay, so now the real business. Now, like, the things we talked about, they're like almost introduction, and now the real business starts. Okay, so now you need to put like 100% of your attention with me. I don't know how to get your attention. There is no subway gameplay down here, but like, just focus, please. Okay, just focus. All right. So, as we said, the first thing that happens, like naturally, when the cut happens, like imagine this is a blood vessel. Look how wide it is. Okay. It needs to constrict so that it like limits the blood from leaving and from coming into this damaged capillary, which makes sense. Like, don't want the blood to go into a damaged vessel, right? It will go out. So you just close this up. Simple. But how? And it's actually a very simple mechanism. Like you will see, it's very nice, very simple. Okay. Okay. So the first response, as I told you, constriction. Like if you get a question on this, see, I'm telling you, I will be pointing out where there could be a question. See now, here this could be a question. You will get this. You will get a whole scenario. Okay, you know these scenarios will just use this stuff. Like you tell you someone, oh, he was smoking, then he just had a stroke. He went to the hospital. He had a bleeding. He had hemorrhage. He had this and that. His wife is divorced. He has 3 sons. He has 4 dads, moms. I don't know, whatever. I'm just making things up at this point. But okay, and then they will ask you at the end, okay? And then they will ask you, what is the first response after bleeding happens? And your answer should be vasoconstriction. If you will put anything else, I will be mad. Like this is a question, I'm telling you. This is a question. If you put anything else, I will be mad, okay? Vasoconstriction, the first thing. And you will see why when I tell you why. I mean, you'll understand why, okay? Obviously, you'll see why. It minimizes blood flow, right? Like this is like obvious stuff. Okay, it prevents the loss of blood, which is exactly what we want. And it delivers plasma and other factors. Like how is this? I will show you how is this. It's short-lived response. You know, you can't live off just constricting the vessel. Blood will still be leaking, but it's like a little bit. But you still want to close it, so it's short-lived. Okay, look at this. You see this? This is how it's normally. Let me put the laser pointer. Okay, this is how it's normally. You see the distance. You see the distance. Now, which one has more blood? I think we all agree that it's this one. So we need to decrease the amount of blood here, so we'll constrict so that no blood comes in and little blood goes out. Now, the third point, which is delivers plasma and other factors, you see the space between this and this? The space, like pretty spaced out, right? Here, they come closer. When the vessel constricts, like everything comes closer to each other, and like it's literally promoting coagulation, right? Which is what you want after you get a cut or something, right? Very simple, inshallah. If you have any questions, guys, please stop me, okay? Please. Now, this is very important. What I'm talking about now, it's very important. So stop me anytime you want. All right, we can move on. This is the first response, as we said, minimizes flow, gets plasma and other stuff closer to the site of injury. Now, what is the mechanism? Okay, like how does this happen? Like, oh, just cut, and then suddenly the vessel constricts? Not exactly. Okay, you're like 30% correct. But the 70%, you have neurogenic factors. Okay, you don't know neurogenic factors yet, like a lot of them. But look what happens. I'll tell you. Focus with me, and then you'll see the slide. So the vessel, once it breaks, there is something called endothelin 1. Endothelin 1. It's not endothelium. It's endothelin 1. All right. Now this factor, endothelin 1, it does a lot of things. One of which, it stimulates pain, which is why when you're cut, you feel pain. Okay, naturally you should feel pain, right? So endothelin 1 will activate this pain. Now this pain will shrink the vessel. Subhanallah, you see? Now also endothelin will directly just tell the smooth muscle, yo, we got bleeding, man. Constrict, contract, do something about it. This is all the job of who? Endothelin 1. But that's not only the factor. There are other factors, like I will tell you now. You see, when the vessel breaks, VVF will go out, right? Now the platelet will come and bind to VVF. Do you agree with me? I agree with me. So when this binding happens, the platelet will secrete other stuff, which are serotonin and thromboxane A2. Serotonin and thromboxane A2, they will also increase the vasoconstriction. Now the capillary or the arterial or whatever it is, it's extremely tight. It's very ready for coagulation. And this is what happens. See, endothelin from the injury, serotonin from the granules after platelet activation, and thromboxane also from platelet activation. Pretty simple, right? I hope this is like clear and makes sense. As I told you here, look, when the tissue breaks, endothelin comes out. Like on top of these, endothelin comes out. It does all the stuff we talked about. And then VVF will go and bind to the platelet. Once the platelet is bound, it's activated from VVF and PAF, okay? Serotonin and thromboxane A2 will be released from this platelet to further help, vasoconstriction and limit the blood loss. Very beautiful mechanism. This is only, by the way, the first step. So I needed to know it very well because the second step We'll also have a little bit for the first step. Okay. So now I ask you a question, like before I move on to the next step. 40-year-old man, he had injury this morning. A lot of bleeding happens. Okay, his head like it's bleeding, and the artery was the middle meningeal artery. It was bleeding so much. Okay, he had like a headache just from how the bleeding is. He had hypotension after this. Like after the bleeding, he had hypotension. And no, he didn't eat anything for breakfast. His neurological exams are fine. He doesn't have any infections. He's been inpatient for a day now. What is the first mechanism of bleeding? Amazing. People are saying vasoconstriction. See? Very easy. I will repeat. Okay. MashaAllah, everyone said vasoconstriction. So you know what? Forget it now. That's nice. Someone asked if I can repeat this page. Yeah, I will repeat this page, of course. So tell me if this explanation will work. So imagine this is the capillary or the arteriole, and there's like inside it, there is something called endothelin 1. Endothelin 1. Now the endothelin 1 is vibing inside as long as there is nothing wrong. But once the thing breaks off, the endothelin 1 will be released. When the endothelin 1 is released, it will do two things. Focus with me. Endothelin will do two things. The first thing, it will activate smooth muscle contraction, which is vasoconstriction. The second thing is it will modulate pain. So we will feel pain from endothelin. Now this pain will also cause vasoconstriction, but we're not done yet. Von Willebrand factor will be released after the cut. It will bind to platelet. BAF will activate the platelet. This platelet will release serotonin and thromboxane A2. What does this do? Vasoconstriction. Very simple. Do you get it? I hope you get it. Do you want me to repeat again? It's fine. Please let me know if you got it. Oh, okay. That's great. You're welcome. Okay, so now we did talk about the first response. Hopefully you will not forget anything I said. Now the second thing that happens, okay? The primary homeostasis. Do you guys confirm that this is primary homeostasis? Is the temporary plug primary homeostasis? I need to tell me yes or no. Do you think it is the primary homeostasis? I need yes or no. Someone said yes, okay. Someone else said yes. Someone else said yes. I would say yes too. Yeah, I agree. Platelet plug system is the primary homeostasis. Absolutely right. So you just put some cloth for now, like you block the bleeding just for now. This is what the platelet system is, okay? And it's really simple. Let's look at it. So again, the same picture, you will see it a lot of times, by the way. This picture, you know, as the legend said, 100, wait, did he say 100? No, he said 1,000,000 words picture. Yeah, he said 1,000,000 words picture. That's right. Okay. So let's take it step by step. Do not rush and read anything alone. Let's take it step by step. So the tissue breaks, okay. Now there's something I did not tell you, which is ADP. ADP also plays a role in vasoconstriction and in something that I think they might, you know, but it's not likely, but they might ask about it. It's not likely though. Like what attracts the platelets? It's a very low yield question. I don't think they will get it, but like just know it, okay? What attracts platelets to the site of injury is the ADP, because imagine it like this. Healthy tissue would have more ATP, but now the tissue is broken, or the endothelium. So now like a waste product from ATP will be released, which is ADP, which will attract platelets and cause vasoconstriction, right? Now this platelet will also release ADP, serotonin, thromboxane A2 for the same reason, which is vasoconstriction, which we talked about. So the platelet plug is essentially just von Willebrand factor and a platelet. There's also other mediators like ADP, which attracts platelets, and again ADP, serotonin, thromboxane A2, which cause vasoconstriction. So if I ask you, I need to write this up for you. Like it's too much words, okay? If I get your question, what is the primary homeostasis? What is the initial, you know, bleeding system? Not the action, like the plug formation. What is the initial plug formation? Just tell me von Willebrand factor and platelet. There's really nothing here, like just these two, right? This goes out, this binds to this, and this is like sticky. But there's one more thing. The ADP, serotonin, and thromboxane A2 will make the platelet bigger
and more sticky. It makes sense, right? Because we need that. Do we need that? I think we need that. We need it to be bigger and stickier to stick and block bleeding away. I wrote it here, I think. Oh yeah, I wrote it here. So it causes the platelet to swell and become more sticky, like naturally, right? Now this is the vasoconstriction we talk about, limit blood loss, get the platelets closer. And now you know one extra thing, which is ADP would attract the platelets. Is this concept clear? This is very easy, but that's fine. It's not clear. I will say it again. Is it clear, guys? Please let me know. Clear, perfect. Perfect, sweet. Someone's saying sweet. Wow, that's my word. Okay, clear. I say that. Okay, let's move next. Now, this is as I told you, this is a picture that, nerdy picture, like, oh, there's this, that. It's just for your reference, right? I like my drawing more. I don't know. I'm not saying it's better. I'm not biased, but I think this is like nicer than this. Like, this has too much information. But it's essentially the same thing. See if VVF will bind to the platelet will secrete ADP, serotonin, thromboxane A2 will become, notice how it becomes bigger and stickier, and then it will bind to more platelets. But I think this, like from here on, you will take it with Dr. Rehan, not in this lecture. Like I looked for this lecture, it says nothing about, for example, this, the glycoprotein 1B or 2B, 3A. Like there is no mention of them. Okay, so you will take this in hematology, inshallah. Okay, what happens after a cut? Again, you will see the slide, by the way, like multiple times, because we're going step by step. I made the order so that we go step by step, okay? And there is questions, by the way, so don't you worry. But let me ask you something now. Let me think of a question, okay? What is the function of ADP in the primary homeostasis? So what does ADP do? Someone saying attracts platelets. I mean, you guys are right. What else? Like mention three. I needed three. It does three things. Constriction and attract platelets. Okay. Vasoconstriction, platelets, attract platelets. Perfect. Wow, you guys are, mashallah, you guys are professionals. You forgot just one thing, which is makes it also bigger and stickier. But I told you this is low yield, so this is unlikely. Sticky, yeah, that's absolutely correct. Stickier, bigger, vasoconstriction, absolutely. Absolutely, guys. You got mashallah, correct. Sah. No, serotonin, no. Be careful. It doesn't release serotonin. The platelet releases serotonin. ADP doesn't release anything. Okay? Okay, perfect. Mashallah, you guys are professional. See, so far you know everything. So far, mashallah, know everything. Okay. So now we can go to the big boss, right? This is like the biggest boss out of everyone. Coagulation system. Coagulation cascade. Did you see that the video? I think you all saw it. Like you spend like hours on your phone a day. I know that for a fact. So I think you saw the video with the guy crying. Oh, he memorizes the coagulation cascade 15 times and he forgot it 16 times. Well, lucky you guys. It's not gonna be the case for you. You're gonna remember it now. I remember it forever. Okay, inshallah. I will try my best. Okay. Let's go. Oh, so much stuff. Okay. As the rules, stay with me and do not rush. Let's take it one by one. So the coagulation cascade is divided into further three steps: intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway, and the common pathway. Common pathway is common between both. I'll tell you more about it later. So the intrinsic pathway, like why is it intrinsic? Because all the enzymes and cofactors are in the vessel. They're inside the vessel. What about the extrinsic? Well, the extrinsic pathway is like a mix of both. It has things inside the vessel, and remember tissue factor, like factor 3 that we talked about? Remember it? It's also outside. So the extrinsic pathway will not take place unless the tissue is cut, which will allow the entry of tissue factor, which will activate the extrinsic pathway. Well, the intrinsic pathway, just by contact, it's activated. Now you might ask me, but like luckily I answered your question before you ask me. Well, you will say, okay, if the intrinsic pathway is activated only by contact, then why do we not just get constant clots? I'll tell you, my friend, didn't I tell you that we have anticoagulants naturally, and like in the ideal situation, they don't allow any clot to happen? Who can tell me one factor from the anticoagulant system? Just one. Everyone just say a random one, okay? I need to see if you guys remember them, because it's very important. Like Someone might ask you, oh, why don't we just form clots randomly? Okay, let's see. Antithrombin 3, perfect, absolutely. This is one important one, which binds to heparin and inhibits several factors, okay? Someone say heparin, yeah, perfect, absolutely, you are good, right? Tissue factor, no. Tissue factor will activate extrinsic pathway. ADP is absolutely, NO, oh, someone's saying NO, yeah, nitric oxide, absolutely right. Tissue factor doesn't. Tissue factor is for extrinsic pathway and it activates it. It's hiding inside the capillary. Once it's out, it will activate. PIG2, okay, prostacyclin, nice. Perfect. You guys know them, mashallah. Thromboxane A2, no, wait. Thromboxane A2 does not inhibit coagulation, my friend. Thromboxane A2 will cause vasoconstriction. So, no, it doesn't inhibit coagulation. It has nothing to do with coagulation. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So, the common pathway, like this is someone pi, yes. Pi. No, actually, no. Pi is a procoagulant because pi. Remember, it's plasminogen activator inhibitor. So it inhibits the activator of the plasmin, and the plasmin does what? Plasmin, it is a blood lysis, so it removes the blood. Well, you're kind of correct there. Pi, yeah, it could be pi. Okay, sure. Wait 1 second. 1 second, let me think about this. Pi, plasminogen activator inhibitor. If you inhibit the activator of plasmin is inhibited. Yeah, actually, you're absolutely correct. Pi is it does take place in anticoagulant. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, you're correct. TPA will also be, yes, TPA is also correct, I think. We'll see. Like we'll come to pi and TPA. Don't rush it. Okay, you rushed me just now. That's fine. Good answer. Okay, we'll come to pi and TPA later. No problem. So the extrinsic pathway, intrinsic pathways, they essentially land on the same pathway, which is the common pathway, which is they activate prothrombin. Prothrombin is just, you remember, like in mole, I think you're still taking mole, like proenzymes, they just become enzymes, right? So prothrombin is not activated, it becomes thrombin. Fibrinogen, it becomes fibrin. So this is what's happening. They activate thrombin, so thrombin will activate fibrin, and fibrin is our big guy. It will hold the platelets together. When it's whole, this is the fibrin clot to talk about. Which homeostasis is this, primary or secondary? Secondary. Absolutely. Now I can say sweet because you guys are all correct. Mashallah. This is the secondary homeostasis, the big boss. Okay. Now there's something, before we start the cascade, I need you to memorize this and just keep it in your head because a question will come here, okay? Someone will have a calcium deficiency and it will either ask you about what is affected or what is not affected. Don't rush, don't read. Wait, look. Calcium or factor 4, okay? Now, calcium is required for activating all factors except 11 and 12. And here is a gift. When I say gift, it's a mnemonic, okay? You do not drink milk at 11 or 12 because it's past your bedtime, okay? So just remember that calcium, it activates everyone, factor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is no 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13. 11 and 12, they don't need calcium. It's past your bedtime. You don't drink milk at 11 or 12. Remember this very well, guys, okay? You're getting a question from here. You might. All right, we can keep going now. This is another way to memorize. So you see this cascade, this whole cascade thing. Like I have a way to make you memorize them. Like it's multiple ways, and you just use whatever ways you like. So the first thing, extrinsic, common pathway. Common pathway has factors 1, 2, 5, and 10. So the way you memorize this is like 1 times 2 times 5 equals 10. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Like I think it makes sense for me and a lot of batchmates back in my day, and memorize it like 1, 2, 5, 10. What about the extrinsic pathway? The extrinsic pathway only has 2, which is tissue factor and factor 7. Tissue factor is 3, factor 7 is 7. But I also put it like in the same way as this one, which is 7 plus 3 is 10. Okay, you'll not forget this. There is another way for this. There are 2 factors. If they have 2 E's, they're extrinsic, right? EE, extrinsic. This is another way. You just use whatever way you want. Finally, the intrinsic pathway has TEEN, which is 12, 11, 8, 9. So this is also 10, 10, because why not, it's 10, 10, 10, right? Or you can just count down from 12 to 8 and skip the 10. 12, 11, there is no 10 because 10 is with the common pathway. 9 and 8. Okay, you guys can memorize using these stuff. I did use them and they helped a lot. Are they helpful? Yes, okay, that's great to know. That's good to know. So we can use anyone you want. Okay, and I'll send you the slides later, inshallah. Okay, this is the coagulation cascade. Wow, this is the big boss now. Okay, oh, scary. It's not scary, it's easy. So, do I explain from here? You know what? I explain from here. And because I have another slide, like each slide is dedicated to one pathway, but I'll explain it all here and then I'll explain it again so you will not forget it. Let's start from the, the easy one, extrinsic pathway. As I told you, tissue factor is under the vessel. When the vessel breaks, tissue factor will leave and activate factor 7. So factor 3 will activate factor 7. And what did I tell you about calcium? Calcium will be needed for any activation except 11 and 12 because it's past your bedtime. Now, using calcium, tissue factor 7 will be activated. When this complex is there, it's ready now, it will activate the common pathway. But let's wait for the common pathway a little bit. Let's wait and go to the intrinsic pathway because they both will come here eventually, as you can see. Okay, by contact only, by contact. So as I told you, the tissue breaks. There is no inhibition now. Most of the inhibitors, if you notice, they inhibit the intrinsic pathway. Okay, there is no inhibition now. Now the factor 12 will come in contact with a platelet. When it contacts the platelet, the activated one, it will be like, oh, I think there's a bleeding. Let's coagulate, okay? So factor 12 will be activated now, which will activate factor 11. Factor 11 is activated. So far, no calcium. 11, 12, no calcium. Now factor 11, when it's activated, it will use calcium to activate factor 9. Now factor 9 is activated now. Factor 9 will go with factor 8, the platelet, and calcium to form a complex. Like factor 9, 8, platelet, and calcium. Now this will activate, again, factor 10, the common pathway. This is called Stewart factor, I think. Stewart or something, I don't know. So both will activate factor 10. Factor 10 will become factor 10 activated. So A is for activated, guys, okay? Letter A is for activated. When factor 10 is activated, it will form a complex with factor 5, platelet, and the calcium. Remember this very well. This is called the prothrombin activator. Why? Because it activates prothrombin. Very simple. Or prothrombinase complex. So factor 10 again, 10 reactivated, which will activate factor 5 and will make a complex with it along with platelet and calcium. Remember, calcium is everywhere except 11 and 12 because your bedtime. We said that a lot. Okay, so this complex will now go to which factor? Factor 2 or prothrombin. Now, prothrombin is the inactive precursor of thrombin. Now, prothrombinase complex or the prothrombin activator will activate prothrombin, which is 10, 5 platelet calcium. When this is activated, prothrombin will become thrombin, and thrombin, wait, forget this for a second, okay? Thrombin will activate fibrinogen. So prothrombin, thrombin, fibrinogen, fibrin, right? Thrombin will activate fibrinogen to fibrin. Very simple so far. So far, you guys with me? Okay. Now, fibrin is there. It will hold the platelets. But, just a little spice, you need to, fix them together, like, make them even harder together. You will use something called the factor 13, which is activated by thrombin. So thrombin will not only activate fibrinogen, which is factor 1, yes, it will also activate factor 13. So when factor 13 is activated, see, 13A, it will, yes, I will repeat. Yeah, don't worry, guys. I will repeat everything. Don't worry. This is like an intro slide for the cascade, and then will be another slide for the same cascade. So don't worry. I will repeat it. So factor 13 will, enhance fibrin. That's it. To just enhance fibrin to make it cross-link. And we got a question about this, like what cross-links the fibrin? Some people put thrombin, but it's actually factor 13. So just be careful. I'm telling you, a question came from here. And see, guys, there is the intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway. I'll talk about them. Just let me move from here, okay? I will talk about Norway. So this is a gift, mnemonic. This freshers party tonight. Come, let's sing, and call seniors. Please have fun. So this is not essentially like something you would depend on. You don't depend on this. It's just a way to help you remember the names of the factors. Like factor 1 is fibrinogen, but you eventually have to know all the names without this mnemonic. But this mnemonic will help you, okay? So hope it helps. Let's go through them like really quick. Fibrinogen is factor 1, prothrombin is 2. I'm just reading, and this is nothing, just reading. Tissue factor is 3, calcium 4. I'm telling you the important ones here, like the important ones. 10 is important to know, Stewart factor, okay? 13 is fibrin stabilizing, it's important to know. The rest is just, use the mnemonic, you will get them, memorize them, and with time, Anki or some stuff, and you will know them, okay? Now the extrinsic pathway again, I will explain the extrinsic pathway again. So as I told you, when the endothelium breaks, the tissue factor leaves and will activate what? Factor 7 and calcium, of course, which will eventually activate 10, as we said, look here. So thromboplastin or factor 3 will leave, right? With calcium, of course. Everything calcium except 11, 12, okay? Will leave. This will activate this, factor 7. Factor 7 will go to factor 10 and activate it, which will form the complex we talked about, prothrombin activator, and do its job. Let's go to the intrinsic pathway, since you guys asked about it. We'll go to the intrinsic pathway, okay. Okay. 1 second, yeah. Sorry. Okay. So intrinsic pathway, it's like this. The tissue breaks. Now the collagen is exposed. This exposure of the collagen will activate which factor? 12. And platelets, because platelets are in the collagen now, they're like aggregating. The factor 12 will see that, and it will feel like, oh, I think we should start coagulating. Factor 12 will activate factor 11. No calcium. Factor 11 will activate factor 9. Using calcium, yes, because factor 9 is not 11 or 12. Now, factor 9 will use calcium, and PF is platelet factor, okay, to activate factor 8. So 12, 11, 9, 8. Simple. Factor 8 will go to factor 10. After this will come the common pathway. Before I move to the common pathway, is that clear? Is the intrinsic and extrinsic pathway clear? I need like 10 yeses and I'll move. If one says no, I will not move, okay? 10 yeses, come on. 9, wait, 9, yeah. Come on, and yes. Clear, okay. Okay. If you don't get it, guys, it's fine. Just say again and I'll do it again. Like, I'm here just to help you understand this. So can you extrinsic? Yeah, I will do extrinsic again. Okay. Yeah, sure, I will repeat it. Okay. So you know how the tissue, the vessel, it's this is the blood vessel, okay? Now outside the blood vessel, or like inside its collagen, okay, the basal membrane on this, it has something called tissue factor, which is factor 3. Now, as we all agreed on, okay, when this tissue breaks, factor 3 will leak out because now it has open pathway. It can leave. When it leaves, it will meet with factor 7 and activate it, which is exactly what's happening. Now, the activated factor 7 will just activate factor 10, and from there, you just move to the common pathway. Is that clear? Is that clear? It's not clear? That is clear. Okay, perfect. I think you all, mashallah, are professionals already. Okay, look at this. This is very nice, by the way. So before you read this, you know that extrinsic pathway is measured by prothrombin time, PT, and intrinsic is measured by APTT. The common is by both, okay? So what is extrinsic? We said factor 7. What is intrinsic? We said factor 12, 9, 12, sorry, 11, 9, 8. Of course, the common. But this is not what I'm here for, okay? So I have a way for you to memorize this, that even in POD, we got this question, like some question about PT and APTT, and I was able to answer it because of this mnemonic. All of you, give me your attention, okay? I'm a Subway Surfer gameplay, now just give me your attention, all right? Yep, look at this. So PT, you play tennis outside. See, you play tennis outside, which is extrinsic. So PT is extrinsic. PTT, you play table tennis inside. See, you remember in our unit there is table tennis, right? So PTT is inside, intrinsic pathway, APTT. So now if I ask you, oh, factor, you know what, I'll ask you. I will not wait. I'll ask you, come on. Okay, all of you. Factor 7 is affected. What should be affected, APTT or PT? Factor 7. First of all, factor 7 is, okay, everyone is saying PT. Yeah, why PT? Because factor 7 is extrinsic, so everyone is saying PT, mashallah. Mashallah, no one got it wrong. So everyone is, so factor 7 is extrinsic, which means that PT would be affected. Okay, what about if I told you, let's think, factor 9? There's a problem with factor 9. APTT, because table tennis inside. Intrinsic, perfect, perfect. Okay, mashallah, everyone got this right. Okay, so now you all promise me you will not get this question wrong. Because guys, I don't want to say you wallahi now, but I'm like 100% sure you will get this question. Say 99, okay? Because I don't know what happens. The doctor just changes his mind after he watches this past session. But I'm 99% sure that you will get a question on this. You will get a question because we got like 3 to 4 questions on this, and POD we got like 2 questions on this. So imagine this mnemonic will save you time, will save you 3 questions at least. Very beautiful mnemonic. PT outside, PTT inside, intrinsic, extrinsic, and you already know the factors. Just remember this while doing the exam, and you're perfect. Okay? PTT, play table tennis inside. PT, play tennis, we're outside. Okay? Amazing, amazing. Ah, thank you. Okay, so now we move to the common pathway. Oh, by the way, I'm not done here. Okay, wait. If in the exam it tells you that PT and APTT are both affected, which factor is affected? If both are affected. Okay, you guys are right. You guys are right. It's not only 10, it's 1, 2, 5, and 10. But also like in the choices, it could be 1, 2, 5, 10, 7, 9. This is also correct because it could be like in both extrinsic, intrinsic, and commons. Okay, so it's both intrinsic, like everything. If it's both, like PT, APTT has problem, everything is kharban. All right. There's also one more thing. Like this is, PT is to measure the extrinsic, APTT to measure the intrinsic. But you didn't. No one asked me this. What do we do to measure the primary homeostasis or the platelet plug formation? If someone answers this, I don't know what I'll do, but like I need someone. No, not 13. Okay, not 13. No, not be fair. There is a test. Okay, it's called something test that will test for the platelet plug formation, which is the Wolfram factor and the. Repeat the question. Okay, I will write it. I will write. Platelet function test. Yo, wait, someone said it. Okay, platelet function test. That is correct, but there's also another test. Like there are 2 tests that test for the platelet function test and von Willebrand factor, which are the platelet plug. Okay, I will write the question. 1 second. What tests are used? Because there are 2 tests to test for VVF and platelets. Primary hemostasis / platelet plug. Here's the question. So correct, platelet function test is a correct answer, but there's also another thing. Like it's very simple. It's like you don't need to even to think about it that much. No, not assay. Do I say, guys? Do I say it now? I think someone Googled this just now. I don't know. Oh, someone answered it. Yes, bleeding time, correct. So platelet function test and bleeding time are both used to measure the, how good you have the primary homeostasis or the platelet function basically, and von Willebrand factor, because these are involved in the platelet plug formation. So you might get a question, okay, again, a 50-year-old man, he smokes, he goes on weekends to drink, okay, he has a long breathing time now. Which factor is affected? The answer should be two things. Did someone answer this question? No one answered yet. Yeah, this right. You get this fact from another lecture, but I said I want to say it because we got a question about it. I'm not sure if it's in this lecture. I don't think so because I checked the lecture. Okay, so the answer should be platelet and von Willebrand factor. If I tell you someone has long, like prolonged bleeding time, normal PT, normal APTT, he has problem with von Willebrand factor. Okay, someone's okay. Can I explain PT and APTT? Okay, so what do you mean exactly? Explain. Like I'm just giving you here because in this lecture, like physiology, coagulation, the doctor did not talk about this much, right? Like you should know more about them. Not even I don't think in hematology they will tell you about them. Like it's early right now. You don't need to know what are they. You just need to know that this is for extrinsic and this is for intrinsic. If you promise me you know that, you're 100% covering the slide. Like you don't need to know what this for this that. They will not ask you about it. Don't worry. Okay, perfect. We can move. We can move. Everything clear, guys? We can move to the common pathway now, the final pathway. Perfect, perfect. Bismillah, let's move. Okay. Okay. Common pathway, guys. So the common pathway has 3 stages. Okay. We'll see what the 3 stages. Don't worry about it. So the first stage is when the factor 10 using calcium and factor 5, as we said, it will form the prothrombin activator, which we talked about, right? The prothrombin thrombinase complex, right? This is important. That's it for stage 1, by the way. It's just when factor 5, 10, calcium, it will make the complex, which is the prothrombin activator. So stage 2 will be prothrombin activator activating prothrombin. I will say it again. So stage 1, factor 10, 5 will form together using calcium, okay? And then they will go to the stage 2. Stage 2, as you can see, prothrombin activator, again using calcium, will activate prothrombin to become thrombin. Now you have thrombin, stage 2 thrombin, okay? Stage 3 is going to be fibrin. So thrombin is now made, as you can see, thrombin is here, okay? And also, just let me mention this. You see this arrow here? Thrombin also has positive feedback mechanism. And it also has negative feedback, the one that we talked about at the beginning. I will talk about again, okay, in the coming slides. But focus here. Thrombin also activates itself, literally. Thrombin goes to prothrombin factor, like activate more of me. I need more brothers and sisters, okay? So thrombin activates prothrombin activator even more, and to make more thrombin. Now thrombin, we said it activates 2 things. The first thing is the fibrinogen, become fibrin to hold the platelets. But now we need to stabilize it. How do we stabilize it? Again, thrombin will activate factor 13, which is the stabilizing factor of fibrin. All using calcium, by the way. After this happens, you have now a perfect fibrin clot holding to its dear life. It will not be removed until the tissue is healed. Okay, I have this question. Very nice question. Why? See, why? Is it when the tissue is healed, fibrinolysis takes place? Fibrinolysis is when the clot is removed. Let's see. You have the right answer. Once said you don't need it, the endothelium is closed. Yes, okay, but why? Like there is something. Blood flow, the clot will get bigger to prevent embolism. Yeah, you guys are all correct, but like which factor? Like how? Okay, true, but which factor? Anticoagulant factors. You're close. But like the clot is already there, the fibrin is already formed. It needs something to remove the fibrin. Okay, I will go back to the thing right here. Look at this, guys. Wait, let me go back even more. Okay. To which one was it? You guys remember pi? It inhibits fibrinolysis, right? Yes. So pi will okay. Stop answering. Okay, you guys are getting the answers kind of. So pi, when the capillary is open, it will leave and inhibit what? Fibrinolysis, so that coagulation can take place and the clot can stay. But once the thing is closed, pi will no longer leave and inhibit fibrinolysis. Now fibrinolysis will take place normally. And who will do it? Someone said it, by the way. I think someone said TPA. So if we go more back or like more front, I'm not sure which slide it is. Oh yeah, TPA. So once the thing is closed, pi can no longer inhibit TPA. See? So no inhibition, yes activation. And by the way, this was not mentioned in your slides, not with the doctor, but like I needed to make sense for you guys, so I needed like just mention it from now, all right? So I'm not sure if they ask about this, but now you understand it. Like now you understand, oh, when the tissue is closed, there is no more pi and TPA can do its job, right? And I'll show you now the final pathway. Did I say the final pathway before? I think I said this is the final pathway, but there is also one more pathway. So I'm sorry, okay? There's one more. Now this is the fibrinolysis, which lies the fibrin. Okay, literally just someone like what the TPA? TPA stands for tissue plasminogen activator. So if you activate plasminogen, you activate lysis, which is this step. So if someone comes in with a clot, you give him TPA, by the way. And now we'll talk about it. Don't rush. Okay, I will tell you about it. Yes, they work like each other, almost. Yeah, UPA, TPA, yeah, almost the same. Okay, so now you're done. Okay, the vessel is here. You put the plug. Now the tissue is healed, it's repaired, and the plug is there. Okay, or not the plug. Sorry, the fibrin is there. The fibrin crosslink is there. Now, before I go, here's a question. What stabilizes the fibrin crosslink? Which factor? Wow, mashallah. You guys didn't even give it time to think. Mashallah, mashallah. Perfect. Okay, I'm sure you'll not get this wrong. Which two factors don't need calcium? If you don't get it right, I don't know what to say. Okay, perfect. You guys, oh yeah, 11, 12. Why? Because your bedtime is past that, all right? Okay, perfect. 11, 12. You will not forget this, inshallah. Okay, now fibrinolysis. You lyse the fibrin, literally. Self-explanatory, but I will show you the pathway for it. It's very easy, but just stay with me, okay? Or do you need a break? If you need a break, tell me, by the way. But like we're all fasting, so I don't think we'll take a break now. But if you do, I'll give you anyway. Do you guys need a break? Tell me yes or no in the chat. Yes? Okay, yeah, okay, let's go play. Sure. Yeah. I told you guys stop me if you don't. Okay, sure, yeah, let's go. Okay, welcome back everyone. Allah jami'an. Now we can continue. We're almost done anyway. Like the lysis is easy, the inhibition is easy. So yeah, we were saying the fibrinolysis, just lysing the fibrin. Now you have a fibrin clot, big one on the injury. Once the injury or the wound is now repaired, the tissue is repaired, everything is fine. This clot should be removed, and this is why we have a pathway for it. And as I told you, why does it start after the wound is healed? It's because pi is outside the capillary, which is in the basement membrane and collagen. So when it's sealed off, pi cannot go out and inhibit TPA. TPA is tissue plasminogen activator. It will activate the pathway along with other cofactors and proteins, and pi can't do anything about it. It's stuck inside. It can't do really anything about it. Okay, now you'll see. So when I asked what is anticoagulant, it's actually TPA. Pi inhibits that. So pi is procoagulant. TPA is anticoagulant. Okay, let's move. Okay, look, watch this. Yeah, it's another pathway, I know, but like it's really easy, So prekallikrein. It's a weird name, but I think it's a cool name. Like out of all the names, kallikrein sounds really cool. Okay, prekallikrein, it becomes kallikrein. Simple. How? Plasmin and factor 12, they activate prekallikrein to be kallikrein. Now, kallikrein will activate plasminogen to become plasmin. Okay, don't mix that with fibrin or the other stuff. Okay, thrombin, plasminogen, plasmin. Remember, because they like cut the plasma, plasmin cut. Okay, just remember that. I don't know, just remember it. Okay. Now, when kallikrein is there after plasmin and factor 12 activated, kallikrein will activate plasminogen to plasmin. Plasmin will have a positive feedback loop. It will again activate more kallikrein. Another thing that will contribute to this activation, as I told you, is the tissue plasminogen activator, which is the TPA. TPA is actually good to give to patients who have blood clots. Like when you take clinical, inshallah, you will see someone with a stroke or something. They usually administer to him TPA to activate the step. You have more plasmin. Now the plasmin will go and cut the fibrin. Easy. Plasmin, cut the fibrin. Easy. Was that clear, guys? I got a yes, yes. Can you repeat? Yeah, I can repeat, of course. Okay. So you got prekallikrein just wiping. Okay. Now, once, as I told you, TPA is out, things are out, you know, tissue is repaired. Factor 12 will activate prekallikrein. It's out there. Okay. Factor just there. Okay. Kallikrein will be formed from prekallikrein. Now, this kallikrein will activate plasminogen to plasmin. This plasmin will cut the fibrin. The extra information I said is that plasmin will have a positive feedback loop. So plasmin, like when it's formed, it will go back up and form itself again. How? By activating more prekallikrein. Another thing is that TPA, tissue plasmin activator, it's, you know, it's circulating in the blood. So it's important there. Why? To keep plasmin from forming, and plasmin will cut any fibrin it sees. Okay. And yeah. So I just said it cut any fibrin it sees. How do I know that this fibrin we need is that when there is pi, okay, like when there is a clot, if plasminogen comes in with TPA, TPA will look at it like, oh, there is pi. Pi means inhibit, don't cut it. I just repeated what I said earlier, like nothing new here. This is something Dr. Abdul said. I don't know if they ask about this. Just know it. It's produced by any. Okay, TPA, what it does is it activates plasminogen. That's it. Exactly like kallikrein. So when the TPA is there, it takes plasminogen, it makes it plasmin. When plasmin is there, plasmin will cut the fibrin. So TPA is anticoagulant. It will cut any fibrin. Did you get it? Fibrinolytic. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so see just one slide, right? It's very easy. You now cut the clot by plasmin. Finally, but this is also like the first thing I said, coagulation inhibition. How do you control fibrin formation and lysis? You make sure the flow is smooth. How do you control this? Now we'll go back to the first slide we said. You see, there's a kind of loop here. You know, these loops you see. I just made a loop. Wait, someone asked a question before I go. All inhibitors of fibrinolysis will activate. Oh wait, inhibitors of fibrinolysis will inhibit plasminogen. Because plasmin is fibrinolytic. Plasmin is fibrinolysis. So inhibitors of fibrinolysis will inhibit plasmin. The activators, yeah, exactly, like this one, tissue plasmin activator. It's good. We need to cut the clot. Exactly. Okay. So there's a loop now. As you can see, we go back to the first thing we discussed, which is how do we not form clots randomly, and this is how this mechanism. Like this is exactly the same slide. I put it again. Let's review it because now you know the factors. So as we said, the endothelium normally when it's there, when it's intact means it's working, functionally normal. It will release nitric oxide, prostacyclin, ADPase, which inhibit platelets. Remember, ADPase, it's the opposite of ADP. ADP attract platelets. ADPase will cut ADP, which will throw away platelets, which we don't need it here. Like, no, thank you, I'm good. Now heparin and antithrombin, as we said, like again, 9, 10, 11, 12, basically like the big four dudes and thrombin 2, which is factor 2, sorry.
Thrombomodulin, thrombin, again, activate protein C, protein S, protein C. There's a cool thing here, like protein C, Y, C, and S, and 5 and 8. So look at this, like this is C. Oh wait, this is C. Okay, and like it's 5, but it's the opposite. See, C5. You know, it's like that's a cool thing to memorize. And then S is for factor 8. So S is like this, right? And factor 8 is like, you know, it has an S in it. You see the resemblance? I can see the resemblance. So now you'll not forget that factor 5 inhibited by C, protein C. Factor 8 inhibited by protein S. This is just a cool thing, you know. But this is exactly what we explained at the beginning, which is how we modulate and we keep the flow smooth by inhibiting everything else. The one more thing is that TPA also is there. I did not draw it, but you know it's there. Okay, TPA is anticoagulant. It's pro-fibrinolytic anticoagulant. Now we'll have another slide about all of this, by the way. Okay, here is like a summary-ish. It's a bit like confusing, but let's go one by one. Let's start from the exogenous, means extrinsic. Okay, yeah, outside. So platelet and you know factor 3 will activate factor 7. So here's factor 7 and calcium and platelet will go and activate factor 10. Let me use the laser. Factor 10. Now factor 10 with factor 5 will form a complex, which is the prothrombin activator complex. The prothrombin activator will make prothrombin to become thrombin. Now this thrombin will activate fibrinogen to become fibrin. Now the fibrin will have a negative feedback on the thrombin. It will form peptides that will inhibit thrombin because negative feedback. Okay. Now ignore these. The doctor did not mention these, so ignore them. Thrombin will also have a kind of like a negative feedback on itself. How? It will go and activate protein C. You remember this? Thrombin activate protein C. This is exactly again here. Protein C, protein S. Protein C, protein S will inhibit factors. Which factors? 8 and 5. I don't know why they say 9 here, but like the doctor, I'm sure the doctor said 5 and 8. Okay, the doctor said 5 and 8. So, and it's even here, I wrote it down in the notes section. Yeah, 5 and 8. Okay, so protein C, protein S will inhibit back, okay, the endogenous pathway or the intrinsic pathway. This is exactly what we said. There's a heparin, it inhibits everything. What else is there? If we go from the intrinsic pathway and we trace it, we go back to factor 10 and then thrombin and then fibrin. So it's just a repetition of everything we said. Okay, we can move on. Can we? Everything is clear, guys. Intrinsic pathway, extrinsic pathway, common pathway, fibrinolytic pathway. Okay, someone put a thumbs up. Nice. Okay, so I have a question for you guys. Okay, let me think of a question. Let me cook a question. So, give me the factor that directly cleaves off, the fibrin polymer. It directly does it. Someone said something. Okay, another one said something. Plasmin. No, someone said TPA. Wait, plasmin is correct. TPA is not, because TPA is activates plasmin. But I said what directly cuts the fibrin polymer. It's plasmin. Okay, and maybe this question sounds like no. Why are you asking this? Okay, but this actually was in a previous exam that plasmin. Like a lot of people were confused with that. Someone put like factor 13, someone put like kallikrein, and the answer was like plasmin, because plasmin, it goes and directly cuts the polymer. Okay. Now we have a checkpoint. We're done with this. I asked about this. There's no need to do it again. We can move from here, and this is the balance. You remember the Thanos holding the thing, the balance. Everything is perfect, right? It should be perfect. Okay, nothing's perfect, but like it should be balanced. Balance is nice. So Dr. Abdul made a nice explanation here, like very nice, but I'll explain it again. So trace the laser point. You see the laser point? Follow it, please. So let's start from the clotting. You see, these stuff above, they will activate clotting. So calcium, phospholipid, coagulation factors, they will activate clotting. The stuff below, they inhibit clotting. Okay.
So you have protein C, protein S, you have heparin, right? They inhibit clotting. So if something inhibits clotting, this means it activates fibrinolysis, or it like promotes it. You got it? Now let's start here. These factors, they activate fibrinolysis. So they inhibit clotting. You remember these factors, kallikrein, TPA, UPA? These factors will activate fibrinolysis. So they will inhibit clotting, right? Because they are breaking down stuff. Pi, TAFI, all this stuff, they inhibit fibrinolysis. Remember pi inhibits TPA? That's exactly what's happening. Pi inhibits TPA, so fibrinolysis will be inhibited. So these stuff here, they are pro-coagulants. Okay? That is basically what the doctor explained. He did not really go into details with each factor, but you know most of them by now. You don't need to know the stuff that are not discussed in the lecture. Always like follow what your doctor said. If the doctor said memorize them, just do. But I don't think he did. Like I watched the recording, this part, he didn't say memorize this stuff. He said like just know them. You know mostly all of them. No, but like antiplasmin, microglobulin, I don't think he'd ask about this. Okay, neither of these weird stuff here. So this is just showing you the balance we have, and if you're cut, the clotting will take place. Okay, when you repair it, the fibrinolysis will take place. You know, there's always a balance. Okay, so what happens if there is more clotting? More clotting means you now will develop stroke, ischemia, and whatnot. Fibrinolysis, if there is more fibrinolysis and there is no clotting, this means you're very susceptible to hemorrhage or bleeding. So you might be cut and you will not bleed non-stop until you lose good chunk of blood and you might pass out, you know, because you have no clotting. You have nothing to stop the blood. So you need to have a balance between both, okay? It's very essential. We can move. Vitamin K is important. I bet you do not know. But before I go here, did you guys understand everything before that? Like everything. Is there anything missing? Is there anything I did not talk about? Is there anything you have a question on? Feel free to ask, okay? Yes, perfect. Okay, perfect. We can move on. So I bet you did not know this, but vitamin K is actually important for you. No, but for real, it is important, like especially for clotting, because I said K clotting. Remember at the beginning of the slide? It's important for this. Let's see why it's important. So I made a drawing for you, which is this. It's a lot of stuff, but if we go one by one, trust me, it will be very, very, very easy. So you have an enzyme called liver carboxylase. What is this enzyme? It's a liver carboxylase. Don't ask a question about it, okay? It's just vibing. It exists, right? It's just having its time, you know. And there is your vitamin K. It's also there. Now, don't read, okay? Don't read. Focus on me. I can see you. All right. So the liver carboxylase will using vitamin K as cofactor. You know, cofactors, it means it helps. So liver carboxylase will need vitamin K to help it. So liver carboxylase, along with vitamin K, they will add a carboxyl group to the glutamic acid residue of these factors. But to memorize them, guys, I'm telling you, you will get a question about this. Someone will have a problem in his liver or something. You will get a question, which factor is affected? So you have to memorize 7, 9, 10, CNS. So the way I memorize it, like personally, the 2 and 7 are 9 because 2 plus 7 is 9. So 9, 9, 10, you know, it helped me memorize it, okay? And CS. So vitamin K, yes, it's important for both anticoagulation and coagulation, but it's mostly coagulation, mostly, huh? Okay. So why do you need a carboxyl group in these factors? Well, the reason is, I'll show you a picture before I continue here. This picture, you see, the carboxyl group, it will give like a binding site for these factors. So if these factors cannot bind, they're useless, guys. So if I tell you factor 2, 7, 9, 10 CS, if there is no vitamin K, there is this useless proteins running around. Useless. There's no binding site. They can't bind. They can't do anything. Okay? Which is why it's important. So when someone asks you, why is it important to have vitamin K? Tell him because vitamin K is a cofactor for liver carboxylase, which adds a carboxyl group to the glutamic acid residue to these factors, which adds a binding site and a purpose for them, right? Without binding site, they're useless, absolutely useless. Now there's something after this steps, like this step takes place, vitamin K was reduced, it will become oxidized or inactive. Now don't focus much on oxidation reduction, but just I need you to focus that vitamin K, when it's done one reaction, it will become inactive. We need to activate it again, boom, to work again, inactive, work more. So this is important to activate vitamin K and make it help liver carboxylase. What is this enzyme called? Well, it's not a beautiful name like vitamin K, epoxide, reductase complex 1, VCOR. Just know that this enzyme, VCOR1, VCORC1, it reduces the inactive vitamin K, makes it active. When vitamin K is active, it can go back up, work, add the carboxyl group, again inactive. This one will utilize it, make it active, okay? Now, why is this important? Like activation of vitamin K? Because there are clinical applications where there's drugs. I know Dr. Abdul talked about this with warfarin and coumadin, which is found in garlic. I bet he said this. These stuff, they inhibit this step. Okay, so what are we getting when it inhibits this step? Can someone, like someone brilliant, really brilliant, tell me what happens if I inhibit this step? Were you guys focusing? Okay. Factors won't bind. Okay, factors won't bind. That's correct. These factors won't bind. But what will happen then? They will not be activated. Okay, true. No more vitamin K. True. No binding. Oh, someone said something. Wait. Okay, two people said something brilliant. All right, all right. Someone said bleeding, which is correct. Why bleeding? Because these factors are coagulant factors. If they don't work, now we have like more, you know, kind of flowy blood, so we're more susceptible to bleeding. But it's not essentially a bad thing always. Yeah, it's fine. I will repeat. No problem. Someone said no coagulation, right? So you guys got the answer, mashallah. Like most of you got close answer, and some of you got the exact answer. So exactly. So in our year, like when I took a clinical lecture, there was a scenario where there was a guy with a clot in his brain. Okay, clot. So after like 24 hours, I think, or like 12 hours, I'm not sure what was the scenario, but we give him warfarin eventually. Why do we give him warfarin? So that the factors, the coagulants are inhibited. Okay, and now the lysis can take place. So warfarin will inhibit this step, and coumadin. Okay, I will show you the slide. Next slide. Will make it. It will not make it active. Vitamin K will be inactive. These, as you guys said, no binding, useless. I will say it again. Someone was not focusing. It's fine. So liver carboxylase using vitamin K will add the carboxyl group to the acid residue here to these factors, which will make them useless. Useful. It will make them useful. Otherwise, they're useless, and it will give them a purpose. Because C promotes binding of coagulation factors. Okay, very simple, very easy. Now, vitamin K deficiency. I know it's bad because we just said if there's no vitamin K, these factors will not take place. Okay, these factors will be, as someone said, bleeding will occur, like more bleeding. You'll get a scenario where someone has a liver issue. He has like 4 kids and he has 2 wives, and then he just bleeds. And the answer will be because he doesn't have vitamin K due to his liver deficiency. Okay. Or he will tell you someone doesn't have vitamin K enough, or like he bleeds, and he'll choose like, oh, he has liver issue, GI issue. So any issue in the GI, it will affect the vitamins, and in HLS, like vitamin K immediately. Okay. So vitamin K deficiency may be due to vitamin K deficiency. I bet you didn't know that either. When someone asked, coumadin and warfarin have the same effect as vitamin K? No. Coumadin and warfarin, they inhibit this step. So when they inhibit this step, vitamin K is no longer active, which means these factors are useless. So they will promote more bleeding or more like fibrinolysis, anticoagulants. Vitamin K is a coagulant. Okay. The other ones are anticoagulants, but always a balance is nice. So if you have no vitamin K, you will bleed easily, and you will not be able to just heal the bleeding. So vitamin K deficiency, which is nutrition, like you don't want to take enough vitamin K. Hepatitis, so it's an infection to the liver. Liver cirrhosis, like alcohol. So remember this, like someone could be, he consumes alcohol every day, and then he bleeds suddenly and he can't
repairs bleeding. What's the problem? Liver, vitamin K. You guys get it, right? Also, there's like bile. So anything in the GI generally is related to vitamin K. Like it could tell you someone got a gastrectomy. That's also vitamin K. Okay, bleeding. Antagonistic drugs, it means these drugs, they inhibit vitamin K. How? They inhibit the step that makes it active. So vitamin K will remain inactive. They promote bleeding. And warfarin Coumadin is given to people who are very, very susceptible to clotting, like old people, smokers. You give them warfarin Coumadin if they have any clot. And you also give them TPA. But I don't think you will be asked about this because like, this is more clinical, whether to give warfarin Coumadin or TPA. But you get the idea, okay? That this stuff will promote bleeding and will inhibit vitamin K. Deficiency of vitamin K, as I told you, it will make the factors useless without a purpose. I think we're done here, but there's questions after this, so just stay with me. Before I continue, I need to take your questions first, and then I will ask questions. That sounds like a good deal to me. Is there any question, like the whole lecture? Because this is a very important lecture, guys. You will get like at least 6 questions from this. Okay, everyone, please let me know if it's clear or not clear. Only one person answered. 2 people answered. 3. I need more, guys, more. 4 more. No, 4 not enough. Like you guys are like 9, 10. I need more answers. Okay, 5 more. 5 saying clear. What about the other 5? 6, 7. Nice. Everyone's saying clear. I think that's the majority. Technically, that's like the 80% of who's watching here. Okay, that's perfect, mashallah. So everything is clear, no questions, mashallah. 90%, nice. Everyone's saying clear. Okay, that's amazing. That's really amazing. I'm really glad you guys get this. I tried my best to make this concept easy. And as I told you, as a PAL tutor, my job is not only to clarify or like teach, my job is also to share my experience regarding the questions and tell you where they could get a question from. Like that's a major thing a PAL tutor should do, right? They give you questions, oh, this might come. Okay, focus on this, okay? I hope I did that. I hope I covered everything, inshallah. And now there's more questions. Previous questions, our batch, the batch older than us, which is 13th. And I also got one question from your exam committee files. So if you solved it, you will get it. If you don't, you also get it because I explained it to you. Okay, Bismillah. I'll give you a few seconds to answer. This is very easy. You can type in chat. Okay. Say A, B, C, D, E. So I don't confuse, but like, you're right. Yeah, 5. Say A, B, C, D, E. Okay. Nice. Easy, guys, right? Very easy. And these questions, like I did not choose the difficulty of these questions. Okay, these questions are actually like legit previous questions, and we got them in our exam. So I'm getting them again just to give you an idea what questions might be there, and the ones that I told you that will come, you will find now that they're actually there. Watch this. Okay, this is A, as you guys said. Okay, answer this. Okay, some people answered it, mashallah, right? Someone did not answer it right. Okay, let's do elimination. All right. Okay, one second. So for those who put, okay, look, heparin, guys. Heparin, you remember, is it anticoagulant or procoagulant? Okay, it's anticoagulant. Good. But what did we say about when someone has a clot? That's correct. That's correct. It might be misleading. But do you really give it? Do you really give heparin? You don't really give heparin, right? Because you need to lyse the clot, not just inhibit it. And what does that? We said something does that, guys. We just said it. Like it inhibits vitamin K. Vitamin K, we don't need it here. 100% we don't need it. Because vitamin K will have more blood clot. So we need to have less blood clot. Yeah, we don't need vitamin K when there is a clot. Exactly. We need to inhibit vitamin K. How do we do that?
Now I changed that question for you. It's not aspirin. No, aspirin is given for a different purpose. Aspirin dilates the vessel, but it's not really given when there's a clot. Yeah, exactly. Oxidize it. So you give what? I need everyone to answer. Some of you, by the way, got it right, okay? But those who didn't get it right, I need them to get it right and understand. Exactly. Exactly. Now everyone's saying B, everyone's saying to oxidize it to an inactive form, which is correct. So you give warfarin, absolutely correct. Because warfarin, it will inactivate vitamin K, which will decrease the clots. Okay. So just keep that in mind. You might get a question about this because we did, I think. Okay. This is okay. MashaAllah, the answer and correct rate is 100%. That is a 1.0 discrimination index, I think, or like zero. I'm not sure. I don't know what this, but you all got it correct. That's what I'm saying. Exactly, because tissue factor, again, tissue factor is in the which pathway we said? 3 and 7. Extrinsic, exactly, because remember 3 is sitting under the capillary. So once it's out, like see, it's extrinsic pathway, exactly. It binds to 7, initiates clotting cascade. Very easy, very simple. This is also a previous question. Okay. I asked you this during the lecture, by the way. MashaAllah, everyone answered it correctly, MashaAllah. No one got it wrong, this one. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Everyone's saying, okay, perfect. Perfect, yeah, absolutely correct, absolutely. Very nice, very sweet. Plasmin, that's a great answer, because plasmin directly cuts the thing. Okay, let's move. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. You guys are doctors, man, MashaAllah. MashaAllah, you all got it correct, yani. No need even to say, I'll just move on, man. You guys are truly amazing. Read it carefully, guys. Review your answer. Read it carefully again, please. Leading time. What do you test? 2 people out of 3 got it right. 3 people out of 4 got it right. Okay, mashallah, you all got it right. Okay, so the answer is yes. It's the okay. Does anyone want to answer first before I go? Okay, GND, correct your answer, please. Correct your answer. It's not the one you just sent me. I want you to answer this. No pressure though, but I really want you to answer this. There you go. Nice. Yeah, it is because bleeding time, guys, we test for platelet function test, okay? Platelet function test, bleeding time, von Willebrand factor, primary homeostasis, they're all interconnected, okay? Just remember all of these like as one cluster of tests and factors. Perfect. But this is the previous question. Okay, someone answered. MashaAllah. Okay. Oh, I'm getting 3 different answers. Nah, review your answers, guys. The first one who answered, you got it right. But the second 2, review, please. Like, read it again. Again, please read it again. I will not give you hints. Okay, last 2 who sent me, you're right. But those who got it wrong, please review your answer and right. Okay, nice. Can someone tell me why is it this answer? No, it's not a common pathway. Okay, someone said it's not a common pathway. Focus. Yeah. Most of you got it right. Yes. Okay, look. So this guy has normal breathing time, normal PT, so play tennis outside. So extrinsic is all normal. So we can eliminate this, right? Can eliminate almost all of these, like just to one anyway. PTT, play table tennis, were inside. So look at the PTT, it's increased. And what is this? PTT is what? Play table tennis inside. So intrinsic factor, which is factor 8. Remember the intrinsic factors are 12, 11, and 8. So this answer should be, come on guys, don't make this mistake, please. Don't make this mistake in the exam. Like, make it now, it's fine. But in the exam, if you make this mistake, I will be mad. Okay? Don't make this mistake. It's a very, like, it should be a free question for you guys because you guys are brilliant. And you know the mnemonic, which is play table the tennis inside, play tennis outside. Very easy. Now this question, guys. Ah, yes, answer here was A, yeah. Answer is A. Whoever said B, review your answer, please. So when you have PT and APTT, so you're playing tennis inside and outside. So which pathway is that? No, it's not. Von Willebrand factor, I told you it will be the bleeding time or platelet function test. But PT and APTT, if they're both, then it's everything. Common, intrinsic, and extrinsic. So which one has everything? Like it's C. C has almost everything, right? C has 7, 9, 10, 5, 2, literally everything, okay? So the answer should be, exactly, you guys got it right, C. Because both are affected. Okay, we can move on. Does anyone? No, okay, perfect. Oh, it's the last slide. How sweet. Well done, guys. MashaAllah. Okay, does anyone have any question? You're welcome, all of you. You're most